Welcome back everyone to this third audio in this series of 3, and this is force transmission using the Feldenkrais method. So whatever activities you do, whether you do running, walking, cycling, this is going to be really beneficial if you are needing to recover from an injury, or you want to do your favorite activity without occurring any injury. This is going to be a really helpful practice for you. So now, if you haven't listened to the audio on finding your pelvis and hips, it would be really beneficial to do that before you do this practice. So go back and have a listen to that one. Otherwise, please come to standing. Notice the contact of the 2 feet, your right foot and your left foot. Whether you have clearer contact through one leg than the other. And then let your hands drop to your sides. And again, notice you've got your right hand at the side of your right thigh and your right thigh bone. So we're going to be exploring the transmission through our bones from our feet up today. And so we have the ground force to help us. Okay, so we all are in this same field of gravity, but different people experience that in different ways. Some people move through gravity easily. Some people find gravity really heavy. And so what's the difference that makes the difference? And so we'll explore a bit of that today. Okay, so we have 2 forces, gravity and ground force. And ground force is what we need to cancel the effects of gravity. So these 2 forces are working through us all the time. And so we have a choice as to how we align ourselves between those 2 choices, those 2 forces rather. So ground force can be really helpful when it goes through our skeleton and our joints are aligned. Our bones love it, it makes our bones stronger. If our skeleton is not lined up to take the ground force, we do in the Feldenkrais method, we talk about it as falling off our skeleton. And what happens is the force doesn't go through our bones, it goes through our soft tissue, and there's a shearing action in our soft tissue. And while we're young and vital, our tissues can repair quite quickly, but over time, if we use ourselves in a way that's not serving us, the soft tissue can wear and tear. We get aches and pains. We can set ourselves up for injury. It can be much harder to recover from injury. And so once we learn, so we're learning through the body, and once we learn how to align our skeleton, we can do many activities without tiring, without injuring ourselves, and without the aches and pains or the wear and tear. So that's what we're about today in this audio. Alright, so begin by noticing that your hand by your side just rests on the side of your thigh. So let's take our attention to our right side, and where your hand is, just see if you can find the greater trochanter, that bony landmark on the side of your femur. And then again, find your hip joint, bend your right knee, place one hand at the front of your hip joint and one hand at the back of your hip joint. And again, we went through this in detail, finding your pelvis and hips, so you can review that if you need to. And just turn your knee in and out and see if you can feel your right hip joint. And then be aware that also your femur is turning in and out, your thigh bone, the greater trochanter is moving. Take your attention to that. And then on your inner thigh you have a lesser trochanter, so you have a bony prominence on your inner thigh. It's smaller than the greater trochanter, and it's in line with the bottom of your greater trochanter. So if you find that bony landmark on the outside of your thigh bone, and then draw a line from the bottom of that directly across to your inner thigh, you may be able to feel the bony landmark called the lesser trochanter on your inner thigh. But if you can't feel it, just know that it's there. And so as you turn your right knee in and out, your whole thigh bone is rotating in and out, including the greater trochanter, the lesser trochanter, and the hip joint. And so please feel free to explore that on the left side as well. Just pause the audio and take your time and explore that, and then come back. And so now let's come back to just standing with arms by our side and begin reaching up as if you're reaching up to the top shelf, fully extended, just reaching up. You want to grab the packet of biscuits from the top shelf or something enticing up there. So your eyes go up to where your hand is as well. You want to see where the packet of biscuits is so you can grab it. And so notice where your weight goes. Does it go to your right leg or your left leg? And the leg that your weight goes to, does your thigh bone or your femur spiral inwards or outwards to help you reach up to the top shelf? Just see if you can find that. Does your thigh bone spiral inwards or outwards? What would help you reach up just that little bit higher? And then again, please explore that, reaching up with your other hand. Again, pause the audio and do that with your other hand. Notice if that hand's clearer. And find the spiraling again of the other thigh bone. And now come back to the first side, your first preference. And this time reaching up, but as if you're pushing a weight up. So as if you're pushing maybe that heavy blanket that keeps falling out of the cupboard, you need to push it back, or some kind of weight that you need to push up. And again, notice the thigh bone and whether it would help to spiral in or spiral out to push that blanket up back into the cupboard. And could you find a way for the thigh bone to spiral so that the hip comes up snugly into the socket, closer to your sacrum, up under your pubic bone, so that helps you to push up. Try that a few times. And try both ways, with the thigh bone spiraling outwards, spiraling inwards. And then again, explore that on the other side. The pushing up with the other hand. How does your thigh bone want to spiral? Inwards or outwards? What would make the hip joint come up snugly, sitting closer into the socket, coming up closer to the sacrum, under the pubic bone? Up, up, up. So try that several times. And then come back to standing and just take your attention to your fourth toe. Come to your right foot, take your attention to your fourth toe. And in particular, the fourth metatarsal. So you could actually come down and touch your fourth toe and then come back down the foot. So where the fourth metatarsal bones are, and just palpate along your foot there, along the right side, the right foot. And then do the same with the left foot. Find the left fourth toe and the left metatarsal bone. And just again palpate down. And then as you're finding the fourth metatarsal on the left foot, could you take your thumb under the arch of your foot and really gentle, in a small subtle way, lift the arch of your left foot as you press the fourth metatarsal. Just see if there's a relationship there between the fourth metatarsal reaching down into the ground and the arch of your foot lifting a little bit. When you're ready, try that with the right side. And again, take as much time as you need. If you need to pause the audio to do that, feel free. And when you're ready, come back up to standing. And so now, without thinking about it, just reach up with one hand to push the weight upwards. Of times. See how your thigh bone wants to spiral. How does the greater trochanter spiral? And then could you reach down, not so rather than pressing, but just reach down with your fourth metatarsal down towards the earth as you push the weight up. Allow your thigh bone to spiral. Allow the hip joint to come snugly up into the socket, up under the pubic bone, towards the sacrum, and just see what that organisation's like. And explore that on the other side as well. And then come back to standing. And just stand, notice the movements of your breath. Notice your emotional state. Notice where you're looking on the horizon. Notice how your ankles are stacked over your feet. The way your pelvis and hips and legs are stacked over your ankles and feet. The way your torso is supported from your pelvis up. Where your head is in relation to your spine. And take another walk around the room, noticing where you're looking on the horizon now. Are you looking above the horizon or below, or directly on the horizon? Notice the contact of your 2 feet and the movements of your breath. And enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your activities. Notice if you have a different experience in gravity, and see if that changes any of your daily activities. Notice what happens for you. Okay, thank you.